How do you become a freelance graphic designer? Today I have Tony from Inner Geek Designs that will tell us just that. And if you're interested in becoming a freelance designer, make sure to grab the How to Become a Freelance Designer Starter Guide linked in the description below. What was your background? How did you get into this line of work? What was education like for you to build the skills to become a freelance designer?
I became a freelance designer by accident. I started out, I first went to a vocational high school for auto body, thought that's what I was going to do. Came down to Charlotte and somehow ended up in school for graphic design. Learned I liked it a lot more, stuck with that, almost got kicked out, but still made it through. And then I became a in-house designer, which I still do, but I freelanced throughout college. It was just kind of one of those things where your teachers tell you you need to freelance, you need to start finding clients. And I started doing that and been doing it ever since.
Do you feel like you would recommend people that want to become a designer? Should they go to school? Like, what do you recommend these days for someone that's fresh and brand new, that's interested in this but has no background or skills yet to begin?
I'm about 50-50 on the idea of school. If you need to know the software and you need to know the design industry, yes, go to school. But if you're comfortable learning YouTube tutorials and you're comfortable grinding your face off to make it, then you don't need to go to school, but you're going to have an upwards battle. Some clients do ask for educational credentials, but a lot don't. So they're just basing it on your portfolio, on your body of work. So you have to have a good body of work to make it. Like I said, I'm a 50-50 split on it. I personally don't believe in school right now. I think it's kind of too expensive for what it is. And if you can exclude school, do it.
Got it. So you mentioned that you need to at least learn the tools, you need to have the right kind of gear essentially to get started. What are the applications or tools of the trade that you recommend people really learn to master to become a freelance graphic designer?
I think, you should learn as Adobe Suite, which is probably the best and only full round package out there right now. You're going to be paying $50 a month, which ain't too bad if you think about it. But the big things that you need to learn are not the software. They're more of you need to learn how to think in a concept way. You need to learn how to think like, okay, this is what they're talking about, but this is what they actually mean. You need to learn how to do contract work. You need to learn how to communicate properly. There's a lot of things outside of the technical aspect that you need to learn besides just the graphic design tools.
So are these skills that you can learn without just grinding it out in experience, or are there like you mentioned some YouTube tutorials? Are there particular resources that you recommend the audience check out in terms of books or courses or tutorials?
Like you could go on to Udemy's pretty good for this type of stuff. Skillshare is pretty good. I've done a couple Skillshare courses and learned some good stuff on there. Some YouTube channels I've watched are Roberto Blake's pretty good. Then there's all the business books you're probably going to need to read. There's the Crush It's good and Crushing It is also good. There's you have to figure out what niche you want to go into graphic design, and then you can really hone in and focus. I'm probably not the best example as a graphic designer because I do logo design, web design, marketing, print design. I do it all. But most, you should focus on I'm a healthcare designer and I specialize in web design to make it easier for you to find your clients that you're trying to look for.
And do you decide that like upfront to say I'm a healthcare designer, or like, how do you arrive and say this is my niche?
I think you have to experiment a little bit to kind of figure out what you're comfortable doing and what you're good at doing. Like when I was in school, I thought I would be good at logo designing, which I'm still good at, but I really actually like got layout design, which isn't the most glamorous thing to do in graphic design, but it pays the bills and it's nice to do it. So that kind of branched me out also into web design because it's not too far of a throw from it. I think you have to experiment and figure out what you want to do, and then what customers you want to work with. That kind of comes down to experimenting and getting your feet wet in client work.
Got it. Is there a concept like internships or apprenticeships in this field?
Yeah, there are internships. That's actually I got my first design job. It was an internship for a class, and then it turned into that they wanted me to hire me. You can kind of start as an internship in an agency, but agency work is kind of cutthroat with that industry or that side of the industry. So
What do you usually learn like in an internship? Are you doing exactly what you would do if you're like a full-time employee, or something different?
it depends on the internship. Some will make you do the lowest end tier work, which is a lot of the administrative work, a lot of the cleanup work. But if you work for like an in-house for a company that just has a marketing program or a design program, you'll be doing day-to-day tasks, which I say is probably the best for you. But if you go in an agency, you're going to be doing grunt work and have to work your way up the ladder to get to the good work.
Got it. And how do you stay up to date on the latest technology or methodologies in this space?
I kind of see what's going on with the industry, but like I'll watch to see what Adobe's doing to see what new technology is coming out. But I'm also looking outside of the whole design world to see what's going out business wise. Like I'm trying to keep an eye on what's going on with augmented reality and virtual reality. See how are those going to cross divide with graphic design to see where I can fit that if it ever becomes fully mainstream. So you kind of have to look at the bleeding edge of the rest of the world and the design world, but I usually don't keep up with like design trends overall just because next year they'll be outdated or maybe they'll stay around forever. So
Thanks for watching. If you're interested in becoming a freelance designer, make sure to grab the How to Become a Freelance Designer Starter Guide linked in the description below. And if you want to learn more about freelance graphic design, make sure to check out the next video in this series.